The Cam Brooks saga is probably not over, although it may seem like it. That's next here on Locked On Seminoles.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Florida State recruiting update on a Sunday night. We're going to be discussing primarily the kids that were on campus this weekend as official visitors. However, we start with the latest installment. I've heard different pieces of this from different people. Take it for what it's worth. But Cameron Brooks, the young man that I said back, I'm guessing December or early January, but I've mentioned it many times here on Locked On Seminoles, is the flat out number one target for me for Florida State in this class because of where he's from. Thomas County Central High School in Thomasville, Georgia, because of the position he plays. Defensive end, because he's a Florida State fan, because he lives far less than an hour away from Campbell Stadium. From what Zach has said over at 24/7 Noles, Florida State is stopping recruiting him. Now, I've heard differently, to be honest, but I'm sure there's a lot of emotion in this. Human beings make statements they probably shouldn't. But whatever the case is, the recruitment probably is not over for Florida State, but it is not in a very good spot right now. I'm not going to go into much more detail than that based on sources. I'm sorry, I just cannot. But this is a recruitment to begin before we get into what's recently happening. Florida State, not the recruit, screwed this up at the beginning. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Florida State screwed this up. And it's real simple. Under no circumstance can Cal gain a commitment from a player from Thomasville, Georgia, if Florida State wants him, and the young man is a Noles fan, which he is, and it's not Florida State's fault in some capacity. I'm sorry. Probably the overwhelming majority of it. I don't care what their NIL is at Cal. I don't care which coaches they have recruited. I don't care. That being stated, now let's move to present day. The young man has been recruited by schools all over the place, and Cal still got him over other programs in the South, too. It wasn't just the Noles. They just didn't do a very good job of recruiting him, especially prior to the current coaching staff being there. The new guys, I don't put a lot of stock in that. They may not have done it as well as they should have. Maybe they thought it was going to be a layup because Thomas County Central is, again, less than an hour from Campbell Stadium, 35 to 50 minutes, depending on traffic, time of day, etc. Pretty basic. You should not lose those kids. By the way, that's the same school Charlie Ward, the Heisman Trophy winner and quarterback of the 93 national title Noles, same high school. The last time I was there, guess who was there getting an award at halftime? Charlie Ward. Fantastic. But anyway, to make a long story short, this is something that may end up being rectified, and maybe it doesn't. But we are at the 1st of June. This is a long process. The first Wednesday in December will be National Signing Day. That's 6 months from now. Is it possible Cam Brooks is on the commitment list going into National Signing Day? Yes. Is it possible that he flips on National Signing Day? Yes. Why do I say that? And I haven't talked to Cam for anybody that's wondering. I haven't even tried. I'll let this play out a little while before I make any contact there. I learned my lessons long ago. The key here is patience, which I know fans have zero of, and I usually don't have much either. But let's see how Florida State recruits other D linemen, and I'll talk about one here in a moment, actually, and how this progresses in terms of effort. But right now, in my holster, I have flat out information from multiple people telling me Florida State dropped the ball early on with Cam Brooks. I don't know if that's the case lately, but that caused the rift in the first place based on what I can piece together. It's not all the intel by any means. I'm not stating that it is, But right now, Cam Brooks is not even going to visit Florida State officially, and they're out. Believe whatever you want on the why. It's just sad that a player that is a very good football player from Thomas County Central, a defensive end, can rush the passer, nice kid, all those things, isn't even going to be remotely close to signing with Florida State, let alone ending up at Noles. Just saying. Now, before I go on, just a note, and I said this on the Portal podcast as well, where I do recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news, another pod here on the Locked On Podcast Network. There is going to be random stuff happen over the next 30 to 40 days with recruiting. Most, not all, but most of the commitments that are going to happen will be the back half of this month and then the first 10 days of July. I've talked to many different people around the recruiting industry. We're kind of divided on it, but my guess is these kids just want to take the visits for two reasons. They're fun. And two, it's going to be blunt. A lot of these kids are getting paid to take visits. Yes, that's illegal, but they're getting paid to take these visits. So they're collecting the cash, even if they have zero interest taking visits. Sometimes it's good for the school to get them on campus. Sometimes it's a waste of cash. But because of that, there's going to be a whole bunch of visits, and occasionally there's going to be randomness with commitments. Like today, Minnesota, of all schools, got 5 commitments. Minnesota. Who knew? But anyway, Florida State could get commitments at any time, and we've got some kids to talk about that were on campus, 24/7 Noles, and a whole bunch of other people did some feedback with recruits, and it was kind of fun to get some interesting comments. There's a couple of kids that I think Florida State might get. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. An opportunity with Monarch is something that I like, and that's convenience. Instead of tracking finances in multiple locations, with Monarch Money, you can do it under one app. You don't have to juggle a lot of different things to find out what's going on. You have it in one place. And you could also do that with your partner. You could dump everything into the Monarch Money app and have it there so you both can track everything. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off of your first year. Florida State had several official visitors this weekend, and you just never know how it's going to go. But some of the young men were interviewed by different people that were on campus. I watched some of the interviews, and I just want to give my takes on it for what it's worth. And credit to everybody that was there on 3, 24/7 Rivals, etc. I'm sure the local media from the papers and everything else were there as well. But just a couple of notes. Number one, and I don't know the young man. He's from Texas, Winsboro, Texas, if I remember right. Camden Capehart. He's actually committed to Mississippi State, which was a great find. Really fast player. He's a kid that'll probably play slot, and Florida State definitely needs to get at least one in this class. He's committed to the Mississippi State Bulldogs, but he really likes Norvell's offense and the combination, the work that they're going to put in together, I guess, because now Malzahn is the coordinator. He talked about how the reverses, the short passes, finding a way to get the ball in his hands, and he really likes it. That's a kid, just by the glow on his face, the way he was very positive about the Noles. I can see that one ending well for Florida State. But again, he is technically committed to the Mississippi State Bulldogs, Camden Capehart. Don't know the kid, so I can't really comment much more than that. But you can usually tell when you interview a kid if you got a shot here. The Noles do, and they need receivers. They definitely need receivers. And this kid can really run. Not the biggest guy in the world. He is kind of a slighter build of like Ja'Kai Douglas in terms of like Ja'Kai was put together. This kid's probably 170 pounds, give or take, but he's really twitchy and he's fast. You put him in the slot with the other athletes FSU has, guys that are like Landon Thomas, and then you've got the big receivers and stuff coming up, that sophomore class. it could be pretty interesting and really quick for Florida State. They could add a couple more guys and get Capehart. He's a good ball player. Jacoby Green. This is another kid that I really like a lot. He's back at Madison County High School. Offensive lineman, again, ironically, committed to Mississippi State. He's being recruited heavily by multiple members of the Florida State football staff. Seems to like Florida State, and he lives right down the road from Tallahassee. This should be a slam dunk. I know he's committed to Mississippi State, but he lives just outside of the area, kind of like, ironically, the situation I was just talking about with Cameron Brooks. He's 30 minutes away, give or take. You have to land these kids. Offensive lineman, 6'4", 330. I've seen him live play at Under Armour Orlando. Power player, man. Florida State needs to be able to grind out plays on the interior. This could be a multi-year starter. He's underrated because he's from the Florida Panhandle area. They don't get as much scouting. But I am telling you, Jacoby Green is really good. Nice kid, too. Really nice kid. Kendall Gravel, defensive tackle, Fort Myers High School, over 300 pounds, 6'4". I was skeptical coming into this visit if Florida State would make up much ground because I haven't heard a lot about them with him. Texas was the school I'd heard the most. Ironically, it's not a really good year for Texas in terms of defensive tackles in that state. So the Horns are recruiting more out of state, and they're really after him. Texas, Florida, Georgia, they're all still right there, if not ahead of FSU after the visit. So I kind of like to say that, yeah, they're moving up, but are they really? The kid gave a list. Texas was first, Florida, then Georgia. Yeah. If you've had your visit and you're not in the top two, are you not going to happen. This is a big-time player, and until otherwise proven, I think this is a swing and a miss. You cannot lose the D tackles to these schools, especially the big box schools, Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Alabama. Those schools are already advantageously ahead of you. You cannot let kids from your home state go there. I think he's going to end up at Texas. We'll see. But Kendall Gravel, defensive tackle out of Fort Myers High, probably not going to be a Nole. In some interesting news, and I'm not sure why it happened this way, Northwestern High School linebacker Jordan Campbell, great guy, super guy. He's been committed to Miami for the better part of 2 years, but he's going to take an unofficial visit to Florida State coming up. Why now? Like, he's been to campus before. They've recruited him for a long, long time. But why now? He's got other official visits coming up, etc. It's interesting timing. And I'm honestly asking, like, I don't know what it is, but getting him on campus is certainly a bonus. So that's good news. The only thing I'm concerned about is that he just doesn't want to waste an official visit on it. But then I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because there's no rule on the number of visits you take anymore. Several kids around the country are taking 6 or more. So, again, I ask, why is Jordan Campbell taking an unofficial visit? The only thing I can figure is he's going to take the unofficial. And if it goes well enough, he'll take an official visit, whether it's this summer or in the fall. That's all I can guess. As I noted earlier, he is technically a Miami Hurricanes commitment, but Jordan Campbell is a great kid, and he is put together. He looks like a linebacker. Like, he is one of those guys, when he walks in the room, you take notice. And with his personality and his openness, the way he treats media members, etc., he's the kind of guy I know I'd love to cover. So, and his film is another reason I'd love to cover him. He's legit. He stands out in the Miami Public League, and that's really all you need to know. He may be not at Northwest. He's in one of the Miami public schools. Might be Carroll City, but great kid and just the kind of guy you want to be around. Last note on Florida State recruiting. I don't know if they'll get any commitments this week. Especially, I just want to bring up Cameron Capehart for a second. He's a kid that I think will take the MSU visit. And overall, like, this is the biggest weekend so far. The May 16th weekend had a handful of schools have it. But more kids will probably take visits next weekend and then on the 13th, that weekend, prior to making decisions. We'll see a few this week. It may be 1 or 2 will pop for Florida State. It is possible. However, I do not expect that to necessarily be the case. Florida State had a small visit list. We'll see how it goes, but it's no big deal. There were some other kids that had some interviews. I don't have enough information yet to really comment it myself, but the Noles are in a little bit better position than I thought they would be with a few of them. And that's all you can really ask. But this, again, is the first building block. You got June 6th, June 13th, and June 20th. You got 3 more weekends. Florida State's going to have kids on campus. Well, I think all 3 of those, barring something changing. So there's going to be a lot of information in between there. And then, again, most of the commitments will take place in the back half of June. After the June 13th weekend, it'll start trickling out. And just after June 20th, it'll just be all hands on deck. There'll be literally 500-plus players commit between June 15th and about July 15th. And I'm not exaggerating. It'll be a better part of 500 players in Division I. Now, not all of those are P4, but you're going to see that. So we'll find out what happens at decommitments, et cetera, all kinds of stuff as we go along. But expect some wild rides and expect some unexpected commitments out of the blue, because every time I seem to think something's going to happen, just the opposite does. That is recruiting in 2025, and Florida State is right there with it. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest recruiting news and everything else going on with the Florida State football program. Please hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe to this podcast. Truly appreciate it. And if you would, comment down below. Love to hear from you. We will see you again soon here on Locked On Seminoles.